It was late October in 1986 in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. The weather had started turning cooler, and the skies were threatening to take on their winter perma-gray. It was the kind of weather that signaled the apples were ripe and ready for picking, and trips to the Franklin cider mill would mean crowded parking lots and lines out the door for the delicious hot donuts and cold cider. We were just weeks away from our bat mitzvah as my twin sister and I, accompanied by our mother, arrived at Jason Tickton's office at Temple Bethel. Dr. Tickton of blessed memory was a longtime music director and organist at my temple, and his wife, Mamie, was the choir director and music teacher. Mrs. Tickton had a little bird ornament that she'd bring into the chapel on Sunday mornings, and when we'd sing especially beautifully, she'd nudge the delicate silver bird she called tzipora, a play on the Hebrew tzipor, which means bird, and the little bird would sway back and forth as if in approval. The Ticktons were wonderful. They were talented, and they were loving, and they devoted well more than 50 years to the congregation. We went to meet with Dr. Tickton because we wanted to share our preferences for the music for the Shabbat of our Benot Mitzvah. As regular service attendees, we were quite familiar with the different melodies for the prayers and had ones we liked more than others, melodies we felt would suit the special occasion. After spending some time going through the liturgical lineup and having Dr. Tickton sing a few bars of this Micha Mocha and then the other Micha Mocha and this Shema and the other Shema, we were well on our way to our Bat Mitzvah playlist of Jewish tunes that would ring familiar and create an elevated prayer experience that we envisioned in the sanctuary. An interesting side note, at Temple Bethel in the 80s and 90s, Bar and Bat Mitzvah students had their celebrations on either Friday or Saturday, including the Torah reading. On a given weekend, there'd be as many as 4 children celebrating, 2 at night and 2 in the morning. We chose Friday night. And the service had considerably less Hebrew than it does now. It was only during my teenage years that chanting the V'ahavta became the minchag, or the tradition. As we sat with Dr. Tickton, empowered by the ability to choose the melody that we wanted, it occurred to me how much the music of the service influences the feel of the service. It is not simply if a melody is fast or slow, loud or soft, but the key that it is in, the movement of the melodic line, the rhythm, the flavor of the music has a powerful role in the prayer experience. It may not surprise you to know that we often hear from our congregation, many of you in fact, about the music. We hear words of appreciation for music that you like, and we hear what people do not like. As you would expect, there is often disagreement about what some people like and what others do not. We are Jews, after all. We are extraordinarily blessed to have an incredible music program at our congregation. Led by our ridiculously talented cantor, the music for services, concerts, celebrations, and programs is richly varied and dynamic. And our amazing organist, Ann Frobeater, and masterful choir coax an inspiring genre of music to come alive and enchant us on this Heritage Shabbat. It's a time when many find delight in hearing some of the melodies of years gone by. Jewish music has always been an integral part of our tradition. I can't imagine a Judaism without song, without melody. Even prayers that are not typically sung or chanted, consider the Mourner's Kaddish as an example, do take on a sing-song sort of rhythmic movement or pace when we are praying it. There are ancient songs in the Torah. Shir HaShirim, the Song of the Sea, is among the most famous. The trope system, something created by the Masoretes between the 7th and 10th centuries, aligns how we chant the Torah with the narrative of our text, helping it to come alive melodically and thereby better instruct and inspire us. The power of musical transmission was not lost on our ancestors. The Hebrew Bible is full of texts that was originally sung or chanted, like the Psalms and Song of David. Our ancestors celebrated the most significant festivals and holidays at the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, where the priests would chant and sing. And in Eastern Europe, Jews danced and rejoiced to the sounds of klezmer music. It is striking how Jewish music can evoke such a wide range of emotions, from joy and celebration to sadness and lamentation. Consider the vast landscape and variability of Jewish music that we personally, each one of us, know. Many of us can likely hum 3 or 4 or even more melodies of the Shema, and would associate each of them with different settings in which we sing them. The majesty of the High Holy Day Shema would likely fall flat in a camper cabin at Green Family Camp just before the kids climb into their bunks. Similarly, Oseh Shalom and Micha Mocha, the prayers we know, are contextualized by their melodies. The fast one, the slow one, the one that never seems to end. The music of our tradition has the power to elevate our souls, to convey our prayers in a transcendent way, and the melodies can link us to the generations of our family who not only simply knew the words, but those same melodies. There is something profoundly special and moving about standing around the bed of a person who is nearing the end of their life and hearing the generations of that person's family sing the Zolzer Shema all together. It is so profound because we all know it. We were all taught it as little children. Likely it was the first prayer we ever learned. And even at the end of life, even sometimes when memory has failed, it is magical to hear those words wrapped in familiar melody on the lips of the dying. It is without question the power of music that helps even the diseased mind to recall something so primal, so foundational in the life of a Jew. Jewish music serves a link between past, present, and future. And be sure, it's not just the Shema or Oseh Shalom that everyone knows. It's the music we have always known and the new melodies that emerge during our lives and from our shared experiences and struggles. And so when we hear people say that they wish we would just do more of the traditional melodies, it's not so clear to us what they mean. And more than one melodic composer or another, more than one preference, what I hear in those requests is the yearning to hear and sing the melodies that you know, that are familiar to you. That request is a desire to celebrate and be wrapped in sounds that can just emerge from your kishkas without thinking or reading. It just comes from this deep yearning for the line of the refrain that coaxes you from the melody that is part of your Jewish lived experience. It's music that takes you back to times that felt good and warm and sweet, times of connectedness, rhythms that feel like your soul's expression. Yes, those are good and beautiful and powerful experiences, important feelings, experiences that keep us feeling rooted, and elements that absolutely need to be part of services and programs and holiday celebrations. And they are one part of the whole. We need enough familiarity to have a sense of who and where we are. But when we only have that, we undermine the rich tradition of Jewish music and practice to evolve and change and accommodate and meet us here and now. Whether we know it or not, or acknowledge it or not, each of us plays an important role in preserving and perpetuating our sacred Jewish music. Whether we're worshipers in the pew, musicians, singers, composers, or clergy, we all have a sacred responsibility to ensure that our melodies endure for generations to come. We fulfill that sacred obligation both by calling to mind and bringing voice to the melodies we lovingly refer to as traditional, and by maintaining an open spirit and ongoing commitment to learn and be part of shaping the unfolding musical path that happens every single Shabbat when we sing new melodies. Striking this balance is good and essential for the longevity and health of our musical tradition, and it is nurturing and inspiring to the soul. Like anything in life, we must timelessly mingle the old and the new, the familiar with the foreign, the accessible and the challenging. On this Heritage Shabbat, as we elevate treasured melodies and join in song and rejoicing, let us fulfill the psalmist's call, Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash, Shiru Adonai Kol Haaretz. Sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, all the earth. Shabbat Shalom.